This is The Real Deal, where real estate meets real life. Whether you're a seasoned real estate expert, a first-time home buyer, or if you're simply passionate about hearing small business stories, this is the podcast for you. Join us as we dive deep into the world of real estate and beyond.
All right, welcome to episode 18 of The Real Deal, where real estate meets real life. I am your host, Janine Igliani, with my co-host, Ryan Hatcher. And today you get us, and we are going to talk about all things family and business and intertwining those two and how that comes together, because it's something that both Ryan and I are passionate about, is our families and raising. Each of us have 3 kids of our own, and balancing that life. And there is definitely a balancing act. One of my favorite analogies that I heard long time ago, and I think it was Gary Keller who gave it, or maybe it was Jane Rivers, but basically in life, when work and family is never going to be equally balanced, you have to think of it as like a pendulum that swings, right? And every once in a while, that pendulum is going to swing over to the work side a little bit more, and you got to maybe push it back towards the family side. And you're just constantly, and your goal is to minimize these wide springs or swings and to kind of keep it so it's just slightly shifting, right? And
that's good.
I love that in our business that we can do that, because at the end of the day, we set our own schedules. It's one of the reasons I got into real estate, but having that ability. But it's also, I would argue, like a double-edged sword, because you can work. There's no like start time and end time and office hours and office phone. Like you can do it literally 24/7. So
Easily.
it's good and bad, right?
Yes. Yes. I mean, I think about this a lot, just balancing when I turn off my phone. And I never turn it off, but I mean, when I don't respond.
Right.
Because you have on one side this desire to be extremely responsive and provide that service so that you're there, you're ready, right? And people want to know the answer to their concerns in this type of situation when they're buying a really expensive house. But then you have to balance that with, okay, when do I need to be shut off and time with my family? And it's a constant battle.
It is a constant battle. And also because the nature of our business, right? A lot of what we do is on those quote unquote off hours.
Yeah.
I was showing a house at 7:15 last night, and I was there up until 8:00. Right? That's just the nature of what we do. And so sometimes those, I want to say off hours those are our working hours, right? Weekends, evenings. And so just having to kind of try to balance that. When I think about the balance between work and family, one of the memories that sticks out to me was a time when my daughter Mallory was playing softball, and she was catching. She was young, and it was her first game that she was catching in. And I was there the whole game, and I had to leave early to go meet a client to go show houses. She hadn't caught up until as soon as I had to leave. She ends up going up to catch in this game. And another mom is sending me pictures, and I left and I missed it. And I went out to go show this house. The guy didn't end up buying it. And I remember thinking, that wasn't worth it. Like I missed out on her, an important moment in her life to go show a house, and nothing even came of it, right? And so for me, just protecting that time and scheduling it, and to my client, it would have made no difference had I postponed it another hour, right? But I was so eager to jump at his beck and call, and I learned a valuable lesson at that time of like really scheduling myself and protecting those family hours.
Yeah, I that just reminded me of an experience I had recently. So very rarely do I take a week's vacation where I'm shut off. Like it is so rare. Even when we go somewhere, I've got my phone and I can respond to stuff. I can check emails. And for probably the first time in my career, we went to Hawaii this spring for a week.
Yeah.
And I was almost essentially shut off.
That's awesome.
I lost a client because of it though. And basically what happened was I met this couple. They were great. Met them at an open house. Months and months before, they called me, remembered me, and said, hey, we want you to help us buy a house. We put in a backup offer on one that was already under contract, so it was very unlikely we were going to get it. Ended up selling. Well, right after I'd submitted it, the next day we left to go to Hawaii, and I failed to tell him that I was going to be gone. But he knew that it was going to be a while before it closed, so he wouldn't know anything, right? Well, I get back and I reach out to him, and he said he just felt like I had left him hanging. And he ended up going with another realtor that had reached out to him that he had met. I'm like, so that was tough
That is
because,
a tough lesson.
you know, I hate that. And I wanted to help them, and I would have killed it for them.
For sure.
But I don't lose sleep over it at all because I made the right decision. Now, could I have communicated a little bit better? Sure. But
Yeah, I remember we went on a 2-week vacation. We went to a Disney cruise in Disney World, or vice versa.
Yeah.
But either way, 2 weeks.
2 straight weeks.
2 straight weeks. And I remember feeling so much nervousness and anxiousness leading up to it because of work. And a friend of mine, Stephanie, said to me, just know that you'll lose clients over this. Just to go into it knowing that. And it was like, okay, right? I'm going to do the best that I can. And for now, I think I've done, and that was again earlier on in my career, I've done a much better job of preparing for absences and having a team in place that can step in
and that's why
making
it's
sure
so,
it's seamless,
yes,
right?
That's
so
why
that
it's so
those
nice
things
to have a
don't
team.
happen.
Absolutely. So that we can leverage each other when that happens. And it doesn't have to happen often, but and most of the time our stuff is moving along just fine. And,
Right.
you know.
And then we do have that team. Yeah.
Right.
One of the coolest things I think is when you have a client that says, hey, can I see a house? Like, I want to respect your family time. So what time works for you? Because they are asking to go on a Saturday or a Sunday or whatever. I just appreciate so much when they do understand that, yeah, this is like a balancing act. It is a juggling act, trying to not spread myself too thin, right?
Well, and it's a balance the other way. So I've seen many, many realtors that if you submit something after a certain time on Friday, you're not going to get an answer until Monday. Well,
Let's talk about that, Ryan.
Let's talk about it, because on one hand, as a realtor, you get to have your weekend with your family, right? But you are losing a lot of business
100%.
in many cases.
And why is that?
Because the nature of this business is quick. And I mean, we have to respond. And especially in the market that we just came out of, where you needed to have your stuff together quickly to compete. There were many, I mean, we can come up with examples where
100%.
where somebody missed out on it because they didn't respond fast enough.
Right. Buying a home is a very emotional experience. And if they're looking at 2 homes, a buyer, and this one will respond right away, and this one says we're not going to respond until the weekend, they're going to feel very uneasy to put all their eggs in that one basket, knowing that other offers could potentially come in. They don't know what they're competing with. And this agent has just said, we're not doing anything over the weekend. I think it's a huge disservice to the seller and a disservice to your buyer, because you're not able to negotiate that and also take advantage of those buyers' emotions and their intensity and their drive to want to get it under contract. The longer they sit on it, they can easily talk themselves out of it.
Yep.
So I think I think that is such a mistake when agents do that.
Yeah, and I get the reason why, but there has to be more balance there.
That's not the nature of our business,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
I mean, my family knows that if I have a call that I have to take, it's just part of the deal. We could be out to dinner somewhere. Most of the time, I can push that for an hour and then call them back. I think the key to this is just being responsive. So, for example, let's say we're at a game, at one of my kids' games, and I get a text that, hey, please call me. And then I'll just shoot right back immediately and say, hey, I'm in an appointment, or I'm at something. I'll call you at this time, and I'll call you right away. And then they know that you've heard them and that you've responded. If you just ignore it, or in your case, you just leave and you miss something very important. So that's probably the biggest or one of the biggest complaints that I hear in this industry from customers or clients about realtors in general is responsiveness.
Oh, yeah.
And so for us, it's incredibly important to make sure we are on top of that.
And I love that, because I think that's when we look at our feedback and our reviews, that's one of the most common
How responsive.
feedback, right?
Yeah.
That we get is that we are really responsive, super communicative with them, and just making sure that we're always available, right? I really pride myself on that because I know what it's like on the flip side. But honestly, we were just talking about this yesterday, right? To carry it even further, our goal is to not even wait for them to have a question.
Right.
Our goal is to be so on top of communication that we answer all questions before they even know they have them.
Exactly.
So that helps too. When you do a really, really good job, it helps to minimize that.
And I feel like I'm good at that generally, but I'm getting better at it, you know? And a lot of that has to do with just organization and scheduling and knowing at this time every week at a minimum, I'm going to be calling this person to give an update and talk about this, or maybe it's twice a week or whatever it is. So just planning that out. Here's a question. How would you say your kids feel that you are with balancing it?
I mean, again, that going back to that pendulum example, I've swung it way too far on the work side and they've suffered and I've suffered because of it. So I've really learned to set some boundaries. One of the things that I am very selective with is taking phone calls when I'm in the car with my kids. I love to call clients when I'm driving because I'm
Yes.
on the road a lot.
Yes.
But that time in the car with my kids is like precious time because
It's
for some
one-on-one.
reason,
Yeah.
that's when they want to open up and chat and share things with me. And I don't want to miss any of it. Right. So I try to really guard that. So I think I've learned over the years, like how to navigate that. And I think they would say that I do a really good job. In fact, funny story. We were talking about like with my family about like ideal vacation, ideal whatever. Long story, but basically my kids were like, Mom's just happy whenever she's with us. And it was like, yes, I am. And I love that they know that,
That's
right?
cool.
Like we do highs and lows at dinner all the time. What's your high today? What was your low today? And almost always it's like dinner with you guys right now is my high, right? And that's the honest answer, right? Like I
That's
love
awesome.
that family time. So I love that they knew that was important to me.
Good.
I have something. So one of the things, and we're, I think, both super good at this, is incorporating our family into our business. I think that's been a huge blessing and a huge way to kind of merge those two worlds.
For sure.
I love it because my kids get to see me work and they get to learn some of those skills. I always tease my kids, like, you guys are getting $1 million education by following me, hearing me,
And they
right,
have no
watching
idea.
me, right?
They don't even realize it.
Right. Sometimes when I do take phone calls with them around, I'll get off the phone and be like, did you hear that? Anyways,
Did you see Mom just slay that?
right? Did you see that? Did you hear? This just happened the other day with Mallory. I was like, did you see how I did that? I don't even remember. It was some negotiation. And she was like, that was awesome, Mom. So it was cool,
That's
you know?
cool.
But yeah, being able to incorporate our kids into our events, into our activities. One of my favorite things is when I meet awesome clients, and this just happened recently, where we want to go out to dinner. I get to have a date night with my husband and a double date with my clients, and now they're becoming friends. Like it's just like the perfect
Yes.
example of those two worlds coming together. I love it.
Well, just in general, a lot of our events are super fun.
Yes.
So we get to have fun
Right.
and work at the same time.
Right?
I will say for my kids, especially in this day and age, kids tend to have a hard time having face-to-face conversations with adults. Mm-hmm. And my kids are pretty dang good at it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it has to do with what we talk about
Mm-hmm.
as a family, but also when they come to our events, like I'll give you an example, the donut stuff,
Yes.
where we sponsor the
Yeah.
elementary breakfast,
Yeah.
and every single parent is coming by to get drinks, from us, and we're pouring them, and the kids are helping me do it, and Kara, and they see the interaction, and they get more comfortable with speaking to adults, or
I
just
love that.
communicating verbally,
Yeah.
and not just,
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a skill that I'm really glad that they're learning, because
I
they're
love
going to
that.
need it.
I love that.
Yeah.
And honestly, our kids do a lot of this stuff where they don't, I mean, I try to pay them and reward them in various ways, right? It's a great tax benefit. But a lot of the times they aren't, right? But they are there working,
Yeah.
and they've been doing it for as long as I can remember. And I just
called
love
service.
that work ethic, right?
Yeah.
Serving, giving back.
So now that Braden is older and he's
Mm-hmm.
driving, and definitely wants money, It's been helpful for me to hire him to deliver a lot of door hangers for me.
Yes.
So we do a lot of door hanging in our work, where it's just advertisements for, or notifications really, for listings and whatnot.
Events,
and so so if I'm passing out 100, 150 door hangers around every listing, that's a lot, and it takes some time. He can do it in 45 to 60 minutes, and he makes $20, and he's pumped.
Same. Yep.
So it teaches him work ethic and to go do it even when the weather is hot.
Totally.
You know? So I like that.
I love that. I love just like seeing, I have like our fall festivals, our Christmas events, and I have pictures with my kids there, Quartermania, and just being able to see them do that over the years is so fun. And I think that those things, whether they realize it or not, they're learning skills that will carry them through life, right?
Well, I was just thinking the first event that I ever did on our team was the food drive.
Yes, I was going to say the food drive.
So what we do is we have these paper bags, big shopping paper bags, and then we staple our flyer on every one of them, and we're talking 1,500 of them. Mm-hmm. So they're all stapling and doing all this stuff. And then we get in our van and we drive to every house in this community. And my kids are jumping out and they're taking a bundle and they're just dropping them off at the doors. And I remember that was the first thing they ever did.
I love
so
that.
That was cool.
That is cool.
A little service action.
Okay, so Ryan, when you think about our business, and let's talk about the marriage side, like what are some things that you intentionally do to keep Kara first and foremost?
Well, even little things, and I'm getting better at this, but just communicating when I'm going to be home, because it's all over the place. I mean, almost every day she'll say, okay, what do you got going on today? And the reason why is because she wants to know when she's expecting me to be home. And sometimes it's in time for dinner, and sometimes it's 8:00 at night. So that is probably key, number one.
The communication and just keeping her,
The other thing is just making sure we're getting date nights in. And that's tough.
Do you have a favorite date night spot, date night activity?
Most of the time it's just to go to a restaurant and chill.
Yeah.
We're pretty easy. I mean, if we ever went, we used to go to movies all the time.
Yeah.
But anymore, it's just go get some dinner.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll go shopping or something for something. But that is...
Ray and I have had many dates at Walmart.
Yeah. Well, we've had them at furniture stores.
Right.
That's when you know you're in your 40s.
Right.
So, what about you? That's a good one.
Yeah, I think the same thing. I would say for us, it's just important to keep that time where we prioritize each other, because it's so easy to get so wrapped up in the kids' schedules and working. And I think sometimes it's easy to just feel like you're just like, two roommates living together. And so we have to be mindful of intentionally seeking that time out. And so date nights are always the best way. Yeah. But even if you can't get in a date night, I think conversations in bed at the end of the day is always really helpful. Turn the TV off and just talk is super good. Yeah. And then Ray's really good about texting me throughout the day when he's on his shift, working, just my love language, my primary love language is words of affirmation. And so he's great about just shooting me over text messages, and it's really sweet just that he's thinking about me. So that's cool. I think it helps. And he'll ask how are you doing? I'll
write that one down. That's good.
It helps though. You need that, right? Yeah. That's this is getting personal, but one of the things that I tell Ray all the time I'm super thankful for is that I have him as my partner in this life, that we get to do it together, raise our kids together, and just go through it all together, right?
Yeah.
Side by side, arm in arm. And as your kids get older and you have some of those harder parenting times, it means even more to have that person next to you.
Yeah, for sure.
Hats off to single moms and single dads, right?
I don't even know how they do it.
I couldn't do it.
It was tough enough for us to move here with no family here and just us two, that was plenty difficult.
Yeah. I think it's just something you have to be intentional with, right? When it comes to balancing that work-life family balance.
Well, one thing I love about this lifestyle is I worked in corporate America for 15 years and it is amazing when you can be where you want to be. Like I'm not beholden to somebody else's schedule. I love it. But you have to get the work done, right? So you have to be driven enough to go get it and go do it.
Yes.
But one thing I love more than anything is the mornings. So I can get up and work out, and then I can be home most of the time, depending on the schedule, for the kids before they go to school. So I, like this morning, I talked to all 3 of my kids before they went to school.
Yeah.
And most of the time, now that the other 2 are going to high school, I can drive my youngest one to school, and we have that time together, which is awesome.
I love that.
That one-on-one. So
Yeah.
having the mornings, because really the real estate world doesn't really wake up until about 9. 8 o'clock,
I don't know. I feel like I'm getting texts at 6 in the morning.
Well, I do too.
6:30, and
I do too. And
that's also, I have to.
do you respond?
No.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing, right? If I'm responding at those times, 2 things. Number 1, I'm training that person that's when they can reach out to me and connect with me. And number 2, I'm putting my family off, right? Because usually those early morning hours are getting the kids off to school and helping them and all of that kind of stuff, right? So if I can and it works, then I will. But I actually really try hard not to look at my phone until I'm ready to respond to those messages.
I had a client one time, he texted me at 10:48 and I did not respond.
PM?
PM. Thank you. And I read it and I'm like, now if I respond to this, then this is probably going to be a regular thing.
Right.
So I responded first thing the next morning, and he made a comment about being responsive, and I'm like, no, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, you got to set those boundaries.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you are allowed to, that's the good and the bad of our business, but we have to set our clients up for that. And I think any reasonable person would honor that. And if they don't want to, then they don't. You guys all know that was why I had to fire that client, because he was texting me at 6 in the morning, and I told him that I would get with him after 8 o'clock after I got my kids to school. And he said, no, you need to address this now. And I said, no. And I said, that's it. We're done. I already could tell this was not going to be a good relationship if you weren't going to respect that.
Yes.
Just because you can reach me doesn't mean it's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Or that you should expect an immediate response.
Yeah.
So that kind of brings up another topic entirely, but sometimes we need to fire our clients, where
It's not a good
It's
fit.
not going to be a good fit. And the more experienced you become, the easier that is to recognize and to do. When you're brand new in real estate, you're wanting to just help anybody and everybody because you need to, right? You need the experience, you need the income. But as you get more experienced, we get to pick our clients, and I love that for the most part. I mean, some are more challenging than others, but there's a limit.
For sure. I mean, and with different personalities, like we're not all going to mesh and work well together, right?
I'm not going to be the man for everybody.
For sure.
And
that's
with
okay.
That. Yeah.
You have to be okay with that.
Yep.
I think it's hard sometimes, but like once you get to that place of recognizing that, that's like a huge place of maturity.
Yes.
And then you can go crush it and be amazing for the clients that do love you and do want to work with you, right?
Well, and I think my goals have changed. I used to want to do 100 transactions a year.
Yeah.
And now I'm not, that's not even close to what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like now I'm fine if I did 40,
Yeah.
but I absolutely killed it for those 40 people.
Right.
Or those 40 families.
Right.
And that's awesome, So you're not going to be the man for everybody.
Yeah. It is cool though, to having done this now for 10 years and having clients that I've worked with over the years and seeing their families grow and kind of experiencing some of those big moments with them is like just so cool and
That is cool.
crazy. I have a client in particular that I'm thinking of. I sold their house here in Power Ranch, bought him a house in Seville. I've worked with her parents, just recently his parents. And so just having that continual relationship and then just staying in touch with them over time. And both of our oldest daughters just graduated together, not together, but they both graduated this past year. And so her and I are just like going through those same things. And it's like, I remember when our kids were in elementary school and we were talking on PTO related stuff,
Yeah.
and now our kids are going off to college.
That's
like,
crazy.
Just so cool to share those commonalities. And I think it like bonds you and connects you with them too.
Yeah.
That's truly like one of my absolute favorite parts of this business is the friendships that we develop with our clients. It is awesome. And I just feel so blessed that that's that's what we get to do, right?
Yeah.
We get to meet people and get to know them in such a personal way. And now we have these lifelong friends. It's so fun.
I just posted this review there. Brett did the other day, or yesterday, or the day before, about some clients that I met through friends. And so they were referred to me and helped them move into a new build in Queen Creek. They were coming from Detroit. And the first line of the review, she says, within a few minutes, we knew that Ryan was going to be our real estate agent for life, which is our goal.
Yes,
I mean, that's like the ultimate.
Yes. That's what we want. Yeah.
What am I trying to say? The ultimate compliment, essentially. And I've already seen them 3 times since they closed 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Yeah, I love that.
So they're going to be good friends, and that's so fun.
Isn't that so fun?
The worst, I tell people this, the worst part sometimes about our job is we have really good friends that we help move far away.
Oh, yeah.
And then we never see them again,
Yeah.
or at least for a long time.
I've also heard from clients like, I've talked to you every day. Like, now what do we do now that the house is
Yeah,
sold? Like, I
they're
don't get to
having
talk to you
withdrawals.
all the time,
Yeah.
right? That's awesome too.
You can still call me.
Right? We'll still stay in touch.
We'll
Don't
go
worry.
eat some lunch.
Well, and that's what's cool because we do so many fun events
Yes.
is we get to still stay in touch with them through that, right?
Yes. So those that are in real estate, having the community and client events is where it's at, because then you just get to keep having those connections, and you don't have the withdrawals quite as much.
Right.
When they're awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this is fun, Ryan. I know that you value your family and honor your family just like I do. And that's one of the reasons why I think we work so well together, is because we have those same values, right? And family is so important, and family is everything and comes before a lot of things, right? And so just making them a priority, just like I make my business a priority, right?
Yep.
And so having that dedicated family time, having that dedicated work time. And one of the benefits is when I'm working, I'm all in, right? I'm not living in 2 worlds.
Yeah.
And so they're getting the best of me.
I mean, and really what we need to do is give them public appreciation, especially our spouses, for what they do.
Right?
Behind the scenes that nobody even knows about.
100%.
Like just the other day, Kara stapled probably 1,000 papers together for me while she was doing something else.
I love that.
Because I didn't have time to do it.
I love that.
And your husband,
signs, my sign guy, my flyer guy.
well, and also going to the car dealership for 5 hours, right?
That's a great example. That's a little out of the ordinary, but yeah, taking a client's car to get it looked at to help facilitate a sale on a car for a client.
Right.
While they're selling the house. And yeah.
Yep. So thank you to Kara and
100%.
Ray
Yeah.
and
We couldn't
Dixie
do
with
it.
Randy
Yes.
and all of the help that they give. I mean, Dixie is the primary
Flyer
door
queen,
hanger, the door hanger for Power
Right.
Ranch. So we couldn't do this without them for
100%. They're
sure. Or it
for
certainly
sure.
wouldn't be as fun.
It wouldn't, and we wouldn't be as good.
Yeah.
They help us look
So
good.
props to the spouses.
Yes, love that. Thanks for saying that, Ryan. That was huge and so important. They're the studs. They really are, because they support us and encourage us, and they do all the behind the scene things. So they don't get all the glory, but
And
they
can deal with our schedules.
right.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, I have a picture when we were in Hawaii. I'm sitting on this beach, and you can see kind of a panorama, and my kids are on the beach playing. I'm sitting about 40 feet from them. And I take this picture because I'm on the phone with title on an absolute mess in one of my files that couldn't wait. And spent about 30 minutes on the phone right there. And I'm like, those are the things that you just have to do.
Just have
And
to
my
do
wife
it.
was sitting right here, and she understood it. And
Yeah, I think that it's just like when we were in Rocky Point, everyone was at the beach and we didn't get down there until noon because I had to spend my morning working. And I think it's all in how you look at it, right? I look at that, how awesome that I can be on vacation and get work done, right? And then go be with my family the rest of the day. Like, I love that versus losing out on business. So it's all in how you look at it.
And there's a balance.
There is a balance.
Which is almost impossible to find, but
Just that pendulum.
you keep working on it.
Right?
Yeah, I don't think it's possible, but
No.
the pendulum is a good one.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Ryan.
Thank you.
Episode 18 in the books. We out.
Thanks for listening to The Real Deal, where real estate meets real life. Make sure to follow or subscribe to the Home Selling Team on YouTube, Instagram, and Spotify to stay up to date with our podcast.